Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello, and welcome to Just Energy Radio. Happy New Year to all of you. And I have an exciting announcement. Today is the 9th anniversary, or the 9th year, beginning of the 9th year of airtime of this show. And I am just so excited that we're still here bringing you great programming in all kinds of alternative areas, including UFOs, ancient mysteries, psychic phenomena, and the paranormal. As always, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about the products and services I offer. Now, think about it. It's the beginning of the new year. It's time to get your life in order. So call me or send me an email. We can set up a time for a private consultation, and I can help guide you into the perfect place for this upcoming year. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. We're going to have a great show tonight. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking with a good friend and a wonderful astrologer, Michele Avanti. And in the second hour, we're going to be speaking with Nostradamus expert and proclaimed prophet John Hogue about what's going on in this upcoming year. And I always feel like it's important to give everyone a heads up as to what the future is going to hold in the year ahead. And so we have made it a tradition on the show to provide that kind of insight. Let me tell you a little bit about Michele Avanti, and we will bring her on the air. Michele Avanti has lectured and given more than 15,000 live astrology consultations on radio, television, at seminars and workshops around America. Her columns have appeared in newspapers and magazines since 1985. She is past president of the Las Vegas chapter of NCGR, an International Society of Geocosmic Researchers. She is co-founder of the Astrology Club of Reno. Currently, she is president of Northern California Publishers and Authors. Her articles and monthly astrology columns can be read in Las Vegas Community Online and in numerous places around the web. Her webpage is Astrology and More, so please welcome Michele Avanti. Hi, Michele. How are you?
I am awesome. It's 2015. Hot dog.
I know, but I have to tell you, 2014 for me, and I don't know if it's just a me thing, was really kind of not that bad of a year. Better than several ones before that. And I'm really kind of looking forward to 2015.
I'm with you on that. You know, last year was a pretty darn good year for me, too. I think changes occurred actually all over the country, all over the world. And the changes, even though there were a lot of scary things, there are also a lot of really good things. So this year is going to be even more awesome. And
more awesome in a good way, or more awesome in a hang on to your seat because it's a coming?
Yeah, well, I'd say that the first two, the way I do astrology when I do mundane, which is the astrology of nations and countries and such. When I do that, I work with what we call the Ingress charts. So I work off the cardinal axis, which are the points of power in the zodiac as we look at it from our point of view as humans. For the most part, we look at it in terms of the equinoxes and the solstices. So every time, like we had the winter solstice, December the 21st, that was a doorway to give us an understanding of what would be coming up for the next 3 months. And then, of course, we'll come to the spring equinox. And that's the way I do astrology for the mundane. And it's been done that way by the ancients for millennia. So at any rate, when we look at that, the first two segments, which would be the ingress we're in now and the one coming up, the Aries ingress, there are some pretty I want to say it's the end of a time frame that has been really kind of scary ride, transformative ride. And then we move into a time frame that's going to be a whole lot, a little bit better. I'll put it that way. It'll be more creative and more open and more freeing. So
what is going on in the heavens right now that is creating the turbulence, I guess would be the question.
Well, we've been experiencing a dance between Pluto and Uranus since 2008. We've witnessed all kinds of things as a result of it. Pluto is the planet of transformation. Pluto is a planet that we symbolize. The symbol for Pluto is the Reaper. The number 13 is Pluto. It's Pluto, when it comes into your life in an active way, it literally forces you to let go of something. And if you won't just let go because Pluto's arrived, then it will rip it out of your hands, destroy it completely, bring it down to the ground, burn it up, and then it pushes you gently forward into a new beginning. That's Pluto.
Is that before or after it knocks you into the street and steps on you?
Well, sometimes it seems to do that, yes. But it's been in what we call a hard aspect to Uranus. And Uranus is a planet of sudden, unexpected events. It's like an electricity that just suddenly appears and runs through you. It's like getting electrocuted, actually. So you put these two planets in an interfering combination, and what you have is sudden events that literally blow things apart. They destroy or disconnect or cause to explode something, whatever it's facing. And so at this point in our world, they are again coming together in that square. They're squaring even now. And as they do that, it's like having a loaded gun. It takes another planet to come into action with them. And when an inner planet like Mercury, especially like Mars, okay, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, also the sun, the luminaries can be the sun and can be the moon. But mostly the one that we watch out for is Saturn and Mars. If they come into contact in a way that activates that transit, we are going to have a real problem. And right now, Jupiter actually is the one who is in an active connection with them. So Jupiter is making a trine to one and a quincunx, or a difficult, stressful combination to the other. And
isn't Jupiter usually kind of kind and benevolent?
Yes. We think of Jupiter as, when you think of Jupiter, you can think of Santa Claus. It's the largest planet in our solar system. And when you think of Santa, you usually think of a big jolly guy. So I like to call it Santa. But it also makes things larger. So when you activate a hard aspect of outer planets that are difficult planets, and you activate it with Jupiter, Jupiter actually says, well, I'm giving you a release valve from this experience. You're going to have the experience, but I will make it so big you will not miss it, and you will not miss the way to get past it, or to get out of it, or to come into an enlightenment regarding it. So that's the gift that Jupiter brings to a hard aspect. That hard aspect of Uranus and Pluto can be an explosive experience. We during this period, it could bring a major earthquake. It could bring a major eruption of a volcano. When I was looking, I didn't really see it in the United States, but I did. Europe does have some tones there. And when you look at what's coming up on March the 20th is the next ingress, that doorway of power that I spoke of. On that day, we also have a total solar eclipse. And the ancients always said, watch out for the eclipses because they will be periods of time where there is major activity that is not going to be fun for humanity. So you throw that solar eclipse in, and then you look to see where is that eclipse going to land, because where you can see the eclipse from is where it will have the greatest effect. And when I looked at that in conjunction with what's going on between Pluto and Uranus, Europe is where it lands. It's across Europe, it's Northern Africa, and it's the Middle East, with the exception of Saudi Arabia. So,
how did they manage to get out of it?
I don't understand how they did that, but it's quite interesting, I thought. I mean, they're in the Middle East. You'd think they'd be part of it, but they're not. And when you look at that area, of course, the first thing that comes to mind for me was Mount Vesuvius, because it's been active. So I went and looked at Italy to see how the ingress works in Italy. And it does definitely have activity that could bring some kind of an explosive event. So I'm not saying Mount Vesuvius is going to erupt on March the 20th or on April the 4th or any time specifically in this next ingress, but it is possible. And if I were traveling to Italy, this is an area I would probably avoid during that part of the year.
But you could be memorialized for eternity.
Well, I suppose. But, when I'm not here to enjoy that memorialization, I'm not sure that it's really anything I want to put out there to manifest.
When you were talking a little bit earlier about the, and I'm going to say sudden transformation that you get with the aspects of Pluto and Uranus, and then throw in Jupiter, could it even be that something gets presented that's so big and so cool that you're able to just walk away from the other stuff?
You know what? Absolutely, that is possible. When you look at this combination, okay, let's take a look for a second at Uranus and what does Uranus have to say to us? Uranus is a planet of inventions. When I said electricity, you think of it like an antenna. If you've seen the symbol for Uranus, it's a little circle with an antenna coming out of its head. And it's in the sign of Aries as it's transiting at this time. Aries is breakthroughs. Aries is new beginnings. So you take these two things, this combination, you say, okay, if we have that in a square to Pluto, and Pluto, of course, is in Capricorn, which is the sign of structures, it's the sign of governments, and you put that square, you have revolution of some kind. But it can be a revolution that's an inventive revolution. It can be a revolution that's a breakthrough of all kinds of structures to create something that is wider, something more expansive, something that we have no idea what it would be. And then when we look at the release valve to Jupiter, Jupiter is in Leo, and Leo says leadership, it says child, it says investments, it says wonder, it says gold, it says a lot of things. But it's always creative. Leo's always creative. So it can be a doorway that comes through some creative channel that our children could be a creative, spiritual child channel.
Or just fun people
that
are weird.
Well, I fall into that category.
All the good people do. All the good people do.
Yes, as do you. Yes. Well, that is really what Uranus is. Uranus is weird. It's everything that's outside of the box. And the only way that we ever break structure is to step outside of the box.
And that has really been my mantra for the last couple of years, has been about what is going on, what is the box we live in, and what do we need to do to get out of it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I think the big key here is the gift that Jupiter gives us, and Jupiter brings a wider viewpoint. What I always tell my clients, what you have to learn to do whenever you get stuck, whether you're stuck because you're angry, you're sick, someone around you seems to be pulling you down in one fashion or another, you have to take and ascend your attitude, move your attitude to a higher space, view the world from your higher self, from the etheric level, and then it just does not look anywhere near like the terrible stuff that it looks like when you're sitting here in the lower worlds and just looking from a physical viewpoint.
And it also sounds like you're saying from kind of a personal note, I mean, we're talking a little more globally, but from an individual's personal experience, that having the attitude of when you're facing the changes and transitions, have it internally be okay, because there is this blessing that's going to be tied to it of moving through the energy and getting to the other side.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. Anytime we have Jupiter involved, as we do at this point in time, it's basically offering us that doorway, saying all you need to do is take the bigger viewpoint. And when you do, you'll learn the lesson. There's always a lesson connected to everything. I always tell people, if you look in the ashes that are left behind when Pluto leaves, there are gemstones hidden in there. Take the time to go through them. Don't just throw them out.
Well, I mean, unless you're interred at Mount Vesuvius, and then it'll be 2,000 years before they find your body, and make a little plaster corpse out of it. And then you'll be memorialized with your jewels. Poof, how good is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's
I'm sorry, you had to bring up Mount Vesuvius. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, it's also possible Mount Vesuvius will not do that. We have so many people on the planet now who understand that by allowing ourselves to be used by the planet Earth to run the energy through our bodies, because we are all crown chakras for the planet. We have so many people now who understand that when they feel the call of Mother Earth, they help her to release that energy through their own bodies. By doing that, she doesn't have to blow Vesuvius up. So here's hoping that we won't blow it up. We've brought a lot of new degrees of stability to our planet over the last 20 years because of the way that our consciousness has shifted. When you look at the overall picture, you might say, well, what are we doing? Crawling? Well, yeah, we do crawl, but we have shifted. And in my lifetime, I can look back and I can say, well, how many people back in the 80s had any idea what I was talking about when I talked metaphysics? Very, very few. Today, I can walk down the street and talk to just about anyone, and they have an understanding. Even though they may still have a whole lot of baggage they're carrying, they have some ability to grasp what I'm saying, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm. That is huge. So keeping things moving along, we talked about the March 20th eclipse date. Are there any other transits that are happening that we need to pay attention to in this upcoming year?
Well, I think we do have a few, but what I'm going to bring us back to where we are now, then I'm going to move us forward. So what America seems to be focusing on right now seems to be all our energy seems to be focusing in the 6th house. And that statement is a space where we are focusing on military, on healthcare, and on employment. That focus has been going around on and off for the last 8 years or so. At any rate, we're still focusing there and we're still challenged. What's going on, though, is we have the North Node and the South Node activated by Uranus and the actual axis that takes place in this ingress that started on December the 21st. What does that mean? It means that this is a period of time from now through March the 20th where we are bringing up sudden issues will come and become very obvious to us that connect us to the karmic elements of war, the karmic elements of aggression, issues that we have karmically sown as a country. and it's going to be thrown in front of us where we can't miss it. We will have to.
What do you mean by that we have karmically sown? Can you give me an example?
They're everywhere. The fact that we have drones killing civilians right now, the fact that we allowed torture and say it's okay, it's not really torture, we'll give it a different word, and therefore it won't be torture. The fact that we have invaded how many countries in just my lifetime, in the last 40, 50 years, that we never declared it as a war. We just went in and overthrew governments and tried to create what we wanted created, and it did not take the interests of the people there into account at all. Those are karmic seeds. We've sown them all over. We've kept it somewhat balanced because the American people have always been shrouded from the total awareness of the terrible things that we do. And instead, the American people as a whole are people who have generous hearts. They are truly the Cancerian people who want to nurture the world and the children of the world. So we as a nation probably send more money anywhere and everywhere for all kinds of causes than any other nation in the world. So we've tried to balance it. We don't even realize we're doing that, but that's what we've been doing. And that's why America continues to sail along, because we try to balance that karma as we go forward, and have been doing a relatively good job. But at this point in time, we're at a point in our states of consciousness where a lot of this stuff that's been hidden needs to be shown to us. We need to see it. We need to realize that America is not necessarily what we were told it was, which is, justice, truth, and the American way. What the American way is kind of gone by the wayside. And it's
all right,
time
so I'm going to interject something a little off. You're talking about America. But there has been, how do I want to phrase this? The interesting concepts like ancient aliens or Göbekli Tepe or disclosure or things that lie in the fringe, which seems like they're becoming less fringe and definitely more mainstream. Yes. Do you think that is going to be part of the awareness that is going to be brought to the forefront as well?
Absolutely. There's no question about that. Uranus is not, especially when you throw Jupiter in, but Uranus is not just about being here on Earth. Uranus is taking in the brotherhood of the stars. And when you throw Jupiter in with that trine that's coming up, you've got a statement that we can become enlightened by the brotherhood. And when I say the brotherhood, we're all connected. Anyone who thinks we're not and thinks that their race is better, or the fact that they're human and there are dogs are less than, they're missing the point. We're all part of creation, and creation works in a unified field. It is not independent. It has individuated consciousness that allows for expanded growth for everyone. But it works in a unified field. And that's, of course, what Uranus and Jupiter are trying to get us to understand. The brotherhood of the stars, the star people, which we are star people. The majority of the people on this planet were seeded from other tracks. At any rate, they are here to make us aware that we are part of an ecosystem that goes far beyond the borders of this solar system. We're part of an enormous ecosystem that has to do with universes. And blowing up planet Earth is definitely not part of the story that they want to see happen, because blowing up this planet is really causing all kinds of destructive debris in this ecosystem.
Well, okay. Wasn't expecting you to go there, but that sounds really good. I'm with you.
I'll go anywhere you point me, Rita. My brain has got all kinds of information. Yeah.
Well, I was having a conversation, and the reason I asked was I was having a conversation with someone about the information about ancient sites. There's what comes out of academia, which is the status quo. And then there's material that comes out of alternative sources that seem to be getting closer to the truth. It appears that way. And absolutely. I feel like it's happening in not just in that one area, but in a lot of different areas. And it's not coming from what would be considered the mainstream or academia. It's coming from regular people like you and me doing our research and putting out our truth.
Yeah, well, that's what Uranus is really about. And to have Uranus going through Aries right now is basically saying it's time to just push through. The masses need to push through. Aries is not the sign of people who have degrees. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the beginning of the zodiac. It's the foot soldiers of the zodiac. So the ordinary person, which we try to make as not extraordinary, but everyone is extraordinary. And this is the awareness that we all need to understand, because there is no one who's not connected to the divine source. And that means that we are all extraordinary as soon as we allow ourselves to realize that and stop allowing the dogma of culture and religion to tell us we are less than. It's time to let go of these things. And I think, it's a beautiful thing to look at the new Pope who's here. He certainly is an Aquarian style Pope. He's breaking every rule that was set by his predecessors, and he is coming into alignment with spirituality. And this is a great example for what we all need to do. So, that's the direction we're going. Uranus is all about it, and in Aries, it's definitely going to kick some butt.
Woohoo! I'm special. Oh wait, you're special. Oh
That's
wait,
right.
all the listeners are special too.
You wouldn't want a world where it wasn't everybody special. Everybody is special. They bring something to the table. If we don't ask them to speak, we don't know what they've brought. So open up. Everybody at the table has something that we need to get. That's why we brought them. In reality, as a metaphysician, there's a statement: no one comes into your life that you haven't already invited. And so why did we invite them? They have something to give us, and we have something to give them.
Good point. Okay, let's see. Okay, move along.
Okay,
Any other things going on? I'm just looking at the clock going, okay. What else is going on this year? Because there's some other stuff I wanted to talk about, so.
Yep. Well, let's go forward a little bit. Let's go to the Aries Ingress, which is March the 20th. And here our focus does shift. It shifts out of being so totally locked into the issues of healthcare, employment, and military. It shifts a little bit where we starting to focus on, unfortunately, or fortunately, relationships and enemies. Those are two statements. So we're focusing in a way that is a little bit different. And what's interesting is the nodes come right into play into that seventh house. The south node is there. Uranus is there. The moon, the sun, and Mars, they're all there. And they're all in Aries. So here we have a statement that during that 3-month period from March the 20th to June the 21st, this is a period where we're going to push through. We're going to be looking at what have we done in the past with the military? What have we done that has been aggressive? What have we done and what can we do that can be creative, that we can take this and use it as a breakthrough for a new military, for a different military, for a different kind of aggressive action in the world? How can we do that? And we're also saying, but we want to do it in a cooperative way in terms of family. We want to look at the children. We want to look at the women. We want to look at things a little differently. At the same time, we are in a bit of a battle with this issue of how do we stay balanced with those who are our enemies or who we perceive as our enemies. The good news is that we do have a beautiful statement coming off of Uranus to Jupiter there, as we've mentioned earlier. And that means there's a doorway through international societies to become greater leaders or to understand at a more spiritual level. And this may also, again, this could actually be pointing, for example, to the Pope. It can point to any of our big international groups as well. So The Dalai Lama could fit in here. Any leader of spirituality may be opening a doorway to help us see aggression in a different way. I was listening to, I think it was the Jon Stewart show about a month ago, and he had, her name was Sarah Powers. She's the U.S. ambassador to Africa. And she's the United Nations, she's our ambassador to the United Nations, but she had been in Africa looking at the Ebola situation. And she used a very interesting word when she talked about doctors. He was saying, well, it sounds like we need more doctors. She says, we need armies of doctors. And I thought that is so aligned with this statement that's in the chart for this new ingress in April. We are looking at armies in a different way. Armies of doctors makes a lot more sense because we need to turn the issues of war to issues of healing and stop the destruction and start the empowering. That's the paradigm shift that we are working towards. And hopefully this is going to be a push in that direction.
That would be great. I mean, I would love to see things turn around and move out of the fear-based mentality that we're in into a more healing climate for everyone.
Yeah. Well, we see it by increments. I don't want everybody to think, well, we're going to wake up on, April the 23rd or something and it's all going to be just better, because it's not. When I look at the United States chart itself and I look in terms of the progressions of the United States chart, there are things that, we're in a progress right now where we have so many planets that are in retrograde. We have Mercury, Jupiter, Neptune, Mars, and Saturn are all in retrograde progressed in the U.S. chart. So we are internalizing many things. We are looking inside. When are these planets going to go direct? And it's a long story. Mercury will go direct on September the 29th of 2016, which is a very interesting date because that's basically just a pinch over a month before the election. Yes, and to have Mercury, in the U.S. chart move forward says that finally someone is going to be speaking clearly, and it's going direct in 20 degrees of Aquarius. So we come back. The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. We come back to breakthroughs, inventions, inventiveness, cooperation, issues of cooperation, all being spoken finally. So it's going to be a very exciting. That's going to be an exciting race. I'd love to talk more about it at some point. We don't know who's going to be in it yet, but just looking at Jeb Bush's chart, because I knew Jeb Bush would fit this Mercury at 20 degrees Aquarius, and he does. He's born February the 11th. He has a lot of activity with that 20 degrees of Aquarius in his chart. Hillary has some, and Elizabeth Warren has some. So there's some interesting statements going on there. That can be
as we get closer to the election, I will totally have you back on because we've done that twice already. And the pre-politics, pre-election survey.
Yeah, it's always fascinating. But anyway, so that's happening. But then we have to wait before we get other planets to go direct. The next planet that'll go direct will be Jupiter, and it will station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer on September the 3rd, 2025. I don't even know if I'll still be on the planet, but because it's a ways for me to go. But nonetheless, 15 degrees Cancer, 10 minutes is an activation very close. It's just turned around and is no longer facing the sun of the United States of America. Our sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer. So this Jupiter has been holding us together. In case anybody's been wondering, how do we manage to get through all these recessions and all of these crises and all of these wars? Jupiter's been holding us together. Of course, Jupiter in our natal chart is very, very strong. We can thank Benjamin Franklin, a master astrologer, for that. So, but anyway, going back to where we are now, so we have that to look forward to in terms of change coming up. When we come to the Cancer chart, which starts on June the 21st, here there's going to be some issues with health threats, and could be disease that they're trying to tell us where people are going to be catching. It could be coming through the air. It can be an air disease. It could be also hacking through the internet. It could be issues of internet insecurity, and could also come through gas of some kind or create gas of some kind. So we've got some real challenges there. And it could also be military gas because it is coming through the sixth house as well. So that's going to be it'll be all over. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of information about that at that time. 29 degrees in this is a what we call a critical degree in astrology. It basically says, if it's in your chart, it says, in this area, I must learn what the lesson is. I must before I can go to the next step. I can't delay any longer. I can't procrastinate any longer. I have to get through this. 29 degrees is significant this year for the United States of America. We start the December ingress, the Capricorn ingress started with a midheaven of 29 degrees of Pisces. That is on the fixed star Skiat, the star of drowning, the one that we saw activated when there was the terrible tsunami in Japan. And long before that as well in other drownings. But it's at the midheaven of the U.S. chart, which says that we got to get our public image together. We got to stop dreaming about who we are and start being who we dream. That's the statement there. When we look at the second chart that starts in the end of March, we have another issue of 29 degrees that is a hidden issue because it's in the solar eclipse. It's 29 degrees of Pisces. Again, the same statement that's in the first chart, it shows up in the solar eclipse. So here it's saying you have got to get your acts together. We can drown you in fire. We can drown you in water. We can drown you in tears. But you have got to make change and stop sabotaging your future by karmically doing things you should not be doing. Stop dreaming and start doing. Come to the third chart, which is the Cancer ingress. And here we go again. 29 degrees. Saturn will be at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And the moon in that chart is 29 degrees of Leo. They are in a square. That is a challenging combination. The moon always represents the people of the country and also the children and the women, and even the homes. But having it in square to Saturn, fortunately it's coming through the third house and not the fourth, is indicative that there is a challenge between the government and what the government has been doing that has been hidden from us and what we have allowed to sabotage our future, our homes, our children, and our women. So this is going to come again forward in that chart. There is a release valve to it. The part of fortune sits close, and Chiron says we can heal this. As a soul family, we can come together and heal this, but we must do it by looking into the past and releasing it. So that 29 degrees again is spoken of. But I will say this, the focus starts to splatter when we come to the Cancer ingress. And then when we come to the Libra ingress in September, late September, it splatters a little further. So money does increase. We do have a lot of statements that says money increases. There will be more money for housing. There'll be more transformation in the housing markets. We may have some issues of international purchases where people from foreign countries are buying large amounts of property. And that may come to the foreground, and we maybe find ourselves arguing about that or working through it.
Well, that would be kind of interesting. Not that they, don't own half the country already, but
well, it may be that more people will become aware of how much they actually own.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about on the international scene? How is the United States doing with relationship to other countries? Or are there anything showing up in like China's chart or in the Middle East that we should be aware of?
Well, I actually didn't run China's chart, and I'm terribly sorry I didn't do that, because had I known you'd ask that, I would have brought it.
I was just throwing out a country.
Yeah, you can't really throw out China. It's a big country. But when we take a look, if I throw this ingress chart, because I can do that pretty much mentally, throw it around to where they are. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with a whole other story. And that's always the interesting thing. There, when we throw it to the west, we're going to take the chart and turn it sideways. And what we end up with is all the things that we're focusing on in this first chart, in this first ingress, where we're focusing on healthcare and such employment and stuff. They're focusing on issues that are becoming public. They're having problems, from what I'm seeing. Their major focus and their major challenge will be issues that involve the internet, involve explosions or explosive people words publicly. So they're probably, and of course I know not much comes out of China, but from the looks of this, their young people are fighting. And they're working to buck the system. And of course, the Uranus-Pluto issue is as much their part active there as it is here, except that there it's activating through the ninth house and the first house. And it's about the people of the country and their need to be more internationally connected. They want to break through. They want to break through the locks that are keeping them from being able to be heard and seen. So that's going on. Monetarily, I've seen some odd statements from other astrologers saying that China is going to be poor, and I don't know where they're getting that statement. Looking at this chart, when I turn it for China, what I've got is a beautiful trine between Venus and its rulership of the second house, which says money, money, money. They have no problems that I can see with money. So I don't know what the astrologer who was saying that was seeing. I have got no clue. China, as far as I can tell, is fine as far as money is concerned. If I go into the second ingress chart, there the focus becomes more issues of public. So it looks like some information is getting out in the Aries ingress. So we're going to get to hear things that are going on in China that we are not obviously privy to at this point. So information is going to be leaked. Because we've got Neptune in a sextile to Pluto, major transformation in relationships opens up as a result of media or internet media, Instagram or whatever it is, because it's an indication of a communication that is pictorial. So it's more pictures that are being sent than it is actually words that are being sent. And let's see here, when we go to the third ingress, which is in late September, it begins and then it ends in December. We've got the emphasis that we still are getting some struggle going on there, where there is militant action of the people versus the media or versus propaganda is what it looks like, because it's Neptune, it's lies. It could also be, when you think about China, this could also have to do with air quality, because Neptune is also gases in the air, and the public image of gases in the air they may also be struggling with. So that seems to be continuing when we look at this chart. Again, looking monetarily to see if there's any issue, when I know another astrologer has claimed there is. I am not seeing it. So,
are there any countries that have come up in your mind that we need to pay attention to in this upcoming year?
America seems to be more closed into itself from everything that I'm looking at. So I don't really see any other countries like saying, well, we're going to cause an offensive. It's more that the United States seems to be the one who is taking action in an aggressive manner. It's not countries taking it against us. I did not see that.
Okay. So what's your thought? Okay, and I'm just going to kind of throw in a long shot here. What's your thought about what's going on with the gas prices right now?
I knew you had asked me something about, and I kept thinking it was water. I don't know why. I almost called you to say, what did you want to know about water? But it's not water.
The water thing is, in California, there were cities that had no water.
Ah, yes. Oh, we could have looked at California. But California, what they're doing with the almonds is unbelievable.
California had a rough year this past year.
Yeah. Well, it looks like God is delivering a lot of water to them. So this might be very, very
whether they want it or not.
Yeah, I think they do want it. I know that Lake Shasta was way, way down. And so I know they desperately need it in California. But asking about gas prices, let me think about that for a second, because I'm not sure where I would, Neptune rules all forms of gas. And when we look at Neptune in the chart we're in now is not poorly placed. It has lots of, it has good connections, and it's obviously much more free-flowing than it has been. It's not under any attack. When we look at it in the next chart, it still seems to be relatively free. There is some friction with the people of the country wanting to go more places is what the statement would be. So it may be a supply issue. It becomes more of a supply issue than it would be. They could raise the cost because of supply. Although I'm not really seeing that we can't afford it. It looks like we've still got very good connections. We've got Venus making a wonderful connection to Neptune. So there's money for gas. I don't see it as being. I don't think it's going to go back up there.
I don't know how much it is where you are, but I was at the store the other day. It was $1.99 a gallon. Well, I haven't seen it for $1.99 a gallon in years.
I wish you'd taken a picture of that. I haven't seen that yet either. But we did get it down to $2.19, so that's pretty darn good. Yeah. I mean, if you can walk away from the pump and actually fill your car for $30, you're doing terrific.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a long ways from when my cousin used to ask us when we'd go to the drive-in, she'd say, okay, who has pennies? Pennies? Seriously? What can you do with pennies today?
Tile your floor.
That's hysterical. Yeah. It's so, I'm not seeing that as anything going up. Really, money does not look terrible here. Money is improving. When I look at the chart June the 21st, there's no question money is improving. When I look at the chart for the Libra ingress, which is September 23rd, we've got the sun in the second house, and we've got Mercury, who rules that house, sitting there. And we've got a grand trine activity going from the sun and the moon and the midheaven. So we're doing better with money, and housing seems to have a better hit as well. If people ask me, like, what should I invest in if I were investing? Well, there's a number of things depending on what ingress you're in as to what might be good for investments. So I don't know, if your folks are interested in that part of this or not. But when we take a look, we've got the Libra ingress coming up September 23rd, and at that point in time, we've got toys and luxury items. And this is amazing because, people haven't been buying luxury items. But here you have statements in this chart that says we'll be looking at actually buying luxury items, more toys. And the word toys, it can be for grown-ups as well as children. There is still also medical equipment. But again, the statement is medical equipment that is more luxury medical equipment. And that's an interesting statement. What is luxury medical equipment? Well, they have things like bathtubs now that you can walk into. That would be considered luxury medical equipment. So it's an interesting statements.
You're talking about that money is there or coming back online, but we have this whole Pluto thing going on. Could it be, you haven't used the word employment, and I guess that's where I'm coming. Do you think that employment is getting better? There are more jobs out there, or because of this transition that's going on, that people are finding other and alternative ways to make money, and so now they have income?
Well, I love what you've just said, because that fits the whole Pluto Uranus Jupiter issue, which says, you'll be challenged. And we look in this ingress that we're in right now, who rules the house of employment is Jupiter. And Jupiter does say, it's in Leo, it says, let's be creative. It says, let's expand our viewpoint and be creative. So employment does expand as a result of creativity. When we look at it in terms of what kinds of things might we be involved with, technology is certainly part of it. Anytime you have Sagittarius involved, we're also looking at things that are international, imports, exports, looking at things being made far away. We have Capricorn also in this house, and it's also active. Capricorn through Mercury and Pluto and Venus in this house. So we're looking at that, and activity there with Capricorn says buildings. It says structures. It says things of quality. So how are people looking? They're saying, some of the things that we've been importing are not quality. Maybe we need to look at starting to build things with more quality right here in the United States, and we might sell them for more, but people will realize they're going to last longer. So changing the way that we look at employment is definitely connected to what's happening right now. And how do we expand employment? That's probably the way it is going to be done. Jupiter is definitely saying that. When I look at the Aries ingress, we have Neptune there. Neptune again is creativity. Neptune in Pisces. There's a lot. There's like employment in the movie industry. There's employment in gas industry. Employment in pharmaceuticals. Where would you find a job? These are areas that, in that quadrant, people are going to be looking at, and they're going to expand jobs. So, when we look at different, the ingress that follows that, we still have Neptune still in that location. So we still have activity taking place with pharmaceuticals and medical stuff and gas and oil and any kind of gases that are underground. There will be employment in those areas.
That's cool. We got 10 whole minutes. 10 whole minutes. Yay. Let's see. Well, there's we can certainly look at a lot further than that. We could take a look at America's chart specifically. And that was one of my questions. I'm just kind of, if you saw my piece of paper, you would understand. Is there anything juicy going on in the White House or, with Obama or, any dirt that you want to share coming up?
Well, I really, if you don't ask me about dirt, I never even think to look for dirt. So,
come on, I always want dirt.
Well, I never think, this is not something I think of. But let's take a look. Let me just look here and see if I see anything that just jumps out at me. I will say this. I'm staring right now at the United States chart and the Aries ingress chart. So this is the moment that everything turns, and it's the date where we have this solar eclipse. So things can really jump out. And what's incredible on this day is that Jupiter at 13 degrees of Leo is sitting right at the midheaven of the U.S. chart. Jupiter at the midheaven says, and in Leo, it says that we can open up to all kinds of possibilities. Then we take a look and we see Uranus is making a trine to Jupiter in the sky. So it's coming right through the 6th house. So it makes things more transparent in the White House. It will make things where people see more clearly what is really going on with healthcare, with the military, with employment in this country. It really brings it to the forefront and blows it up to where you can't miss it. Saturn is also active, but it's a wide orb, so it will take probably a few. It's actually going to take more than a month, so it'll go into the next ingress before it moves forward. But we have been dealing with Saturn in Scorpio for a long time now. It's been, 2 years or a year and 3/4, whatever. At any rate, we're coming out of it. That has been a statement of us digging deep in terms of government and bringing the garbage out, taking out the garbage. removing it and suppressing government in ways where we are trying to squeeze the issues of power out of it so we can see what's really happening. So talk about dirt. We've been having plenty of it. But what's happening now is Saturn is going into Sagittarius. It just did, and then it's going to go back. So most of this year it's still in Scorpio. But nonetheless, it is going into Sag. And when it finally continues to move forward in Sag, it's going to change everything. Governments will be more open to connecting with each other. They will not be so closed off and shadowy. They've been very shadowy for a long time, but you're going to see them connect in ways that we haven't for a long time. And their concern about commerce will be probably what drives them, because Sagittarius is about commerce. It's also about spirituality, but when it comes to governments, it's such a far cry that I just can't even make that leap, no matter how hard I try. So it's going to be money. It's going to always be camaraderie for money. It's just the way of the world we live in. Let's see if I see anything else. Pluto's been in the third house of the United States on this chart. Pluto is in the third house. That's our house of communication, and it is active still in that grand square there, that square to Uranus. So that solar eclipse on March the 20th. And, of course, you can have the application of it, which is a whole week before, and it could be also another week or so after. This eclipse may even last a lot longer than that. But during that period, if there's dirt to come out, it's going to come out. It'll come out suddenly. It will be probably things about the military. It will be things about it could be about bombs or explosions or explosives or revolutions that we have caused that we were unaware of. Could be issues of torture.
Do you think that the American people will believe it, or do you think that it'll get such a spin on it that we'll just ignore it?
You know, I disagree that this one will have a spin, because Jupiter is at the midheaven in an activity that connects in such a way that releases the information transparently. Jupiter doesn't hold anything back, and in Leo, it simply cannot. This is where the person talks way more than they should. And so I think the people will see it, they'll hear it, they'll believe it. The question I think you're really asking is, will they take any action to change it? And that's an issue that it would not be answered in this particular chart. This is just getting the word out. I'll say this. During this time, we have the moon in Scorpio in the United States Progress chart, and it will be in Scorpio for a while more. So I sincerely doubt that the American people are going to take a whole lot of action. When it's in Scorpio, their needs are more about themselves and being in control of their world and being not losing money. I think you'd get the biggest reaction if you said something about taxes while the moon is in Scorpio, bigger than if you said we tortured 500 people and killed them all. Or the moon in Scorpio says, oh, yeah, okay, we could do that. But if you say we're going to raise taxes, the moon in Scorpio will say, oh, no, you're not.
But that really seems reflective of how it's been. You know, there's been so much fear jockeying going on that people are just hanging on for dear life.
Well, you're not wrong on that, and that's part of the whole issue of where we are in terms of our nation and the world too at large. But here, with so many planets in retrograde and Mars in retrograde, Mars is the energy of this nation. We're fighting with ourselves, and we're hiding from ourselves, which is like we pull our energy inside and say, no, I can't afford to expend that right now. And that energy can be money, energy can be love, energy can be a lot of things. So we don't have the fellowship that we had 50 years ago.
Michele, on that note, we need to wrap it up because he just told me 30 seconds. If somebody wants to get a private consultation with you, do you work with people? You know, give out your webpage, all that good stuff. quickly.
Yeah. You can you can call me directly, 541-863-6631. You can find me on Facebook under Michele Avanti, spelled with one L, Michele, and Avanti, Avanti. You can go to astrologyandmore.com, and that'll lead you all over the place. Just write the whole thing out. It's astrologyandmore.com.
Or she could go to the webpage and click on the link to your site. Michele, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, happy new year.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.
That's Michele Avanti, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.